Well, hello there. Is anybody out there? There's one person. One person, it looks like. Who are you? Who are you, one person? Welcome to another Trippy Food live stream. You probably noticed it looks like I got my hair cut. It's called Val Got Caught Out in the Rain. So who we got out there? Anybody? We have Miguel Rangel. Glad you could make it, Miguel. You look like the first person in the room. Two. Now they're starting. They're starting in. So it is a rainy day here in Colombia, but that's nice. So we went into the village this morning, and it was nice most of the day. And then maybe around 2 o'clock, the sky opened up and it started raining. So again, my new hairdo, Val got caught in the rain. How are you doing, Miguel? You are too far south to have experienced any of this winter weather, correct? Or have you experienced this winter weather? It could be why we don't see a lot of people, because apparently there's a winter storm in, and I was going to say it's pretty far south. It actually goes into the southern states and up to the northeast. You are missing all the fun. It's 10 degrees here in New Jersey. Yeah, it's pretty cold. So I know that. I have a friend in Massachusetts that sent a picture of, they probably already have a foot of snow already, and it's supposed to snow all the way today into tomorrow. So yeah, I missed, but no, I actually, Ice Hand, I do miss that. I miss 4 distinct seasons, and I miss the snow in the wintertime. I miss the leaves changing color in the autumn in New England. So I do miss that. But like 10 degrees Fahrenheit, I've had like below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Not so. I won't go. Yeah, but you're here, Janice, and I think that's the important thing. So welcome, Janice. Try not to carry the phone on the roller coaster, because you'll lose that. So Julie must be getting the same snow I am there in Boston for her. Yes. Again, I have a friend in Massachusetts that posted some pictures from Massachusetts, and they do have a lot of snow. Now it depends, because Julie's not in Boston proper, so she's outside of Boston. She's close to the New Hampshire line, which there's a Route 128 kind of goes from like Salem on the coast and then swings around and then goes south of Boston. It kind of goes around Boston like this. And they call that 128, they call that the Route 128 snow belt. So sometimes if you're within the snow belt, like on the Boston side of the snow belt, and they get snow, that you get snow within that area, and then sometimes it's outside of that snow belt area where they get snow. So I don't know how it's going. So hopefully Julie will join us today and she can give us an update. Do we have other people? I'm trying to think if we have other people from Massachusetts or New England on our live stream. Well, sometimes we do. I think Kaylee, the Pokemon Master. I think Kaylee is from New Hampshire, if I'm not mistaken. It's super cold in South Texas. Yeah, apparently that band of weather. So they were supposed to get like I think they were predicting an ice storm in Texas. When I lived in Austin, I lived there for 13 years, and I think within that 13 years, I remember 2 ice storms. So the first one was pretty bad. I got in my car, I was driving around, and I thought, there's ice on the road, but that's okay, because I'm from the Boston area. I know how to drive in ice. And then I realized, as I see cars swerving all over the place, they don't know how to drive in ice. And then I think there was, I take that back, 3. Then the second time I was on my way into work, and the roads were terrible, and they called off work, and I just went home. And then the third time I was working at Dell in Round Rock, and while I was working there, the ice storm started, and it got so bad that when it was time for me to leave, I couldn't leave because the roads were undrivable. And so the people who came in for the next shift couldn't get in. So they asked the people who were there if they could stay, and they would rearrange their shifts, and they would ask them if they could stay until the ice storm lifted. I was there for 3 days, but they paid us the entire time we were there. So I think it was 3 days. 3 days, 24 hours a day. They paid us, and they said, okay, you're going to work this shift, and then the rest of the time you can do what you want. They set up movies in some of the rooms. They somehow managed to get pizza and stuff like that. But stuck there for 3 days. And maybe it sounds like fun until you're sleeping under your desk on the hard floor for 3 days. Not a lot of fun. So yeah, that happened there. I was a mass hall for 4 years when I went to college at BU. Oh, cool. Did not realize. So what years were those, Ice Hand, when you were in BU? Oh, did I miss Jared? Where's Jared? Oh, no, Jared was here first. Okay. So we have Miguel Rangel, we have Ice Hand, we have Janice, sort of. We have Jared. Who'd I miss? Oh, we have those are the four. Those are the four people that we have. It's 30 in San Antonio. Yeah, I was in Austin for 13 years, and I do remember it getting cold. There were times when you did get cold, and we did get ice storms. So do not miss that, especially because living in Austin, I remember summers over 100 degrees for 2 weeks in a row. So it wasn't too bad. They say that Austin's really humid. It's not as bad as Houston, but I do remember the heat. You and I are the same age, Val, so it was ancient history, 80 to 84. Okay. So I was still in Boston in 80 to 84. As a matter of fact, those are probably big years for me being in music, for being doing band stuff. So I left Massachusetts in either 90? I think it was 91. I think it was either 90 or 91. I left Boston for Austin, Texas, because I wanted to live in a rhyming city. So yeah. Spent 20-something years, from 6 years old to 90. Oh, it's Doodle, the Prince of Darkness. Come here, Doodle. Come here. Doodle, we don't have a lot of people in the room, but the people that are there are always happy to see you. How are you doing, Doodle? How are you doing? Did you get caught in the rain too? Doodle, the Prince of Darkness, everybody. Doodle, did you want a snack? Is that why you're here? You want a snack? No loyalty. All right, Doodle. How do you expect, Doodle, to be a star if you just come in here for a snack and you don't want to say hi to your adoring public? I'm going to give you a piece, if I can. I'm going to give you a small piece, because I know you're going to be back later. There we go. And off he goes. Doodle, the Prince of Darkness, everybody. Val, did you see Campbell Soup CEO say their food is for effing poor people? I did not see that. By the way, Big Gucci Soldier Mike, welcome back. I have not seen you in a while. Welcome back. Glad you can make it. I did not see that, but it does not surprise me because CEOs have a tendency to say stuff without thinking about it. The people that it affects. So, I don't know. It's a bizarre thing today. Is Campbell still like Campbell's, or are they owned by somebody else now? Is it are they part of PepsiCo? Because it seems like PepsiCo owns everything. Then you might know about this graffiti, Val. I fought John Law and John Law won. I don't know. I do not remember that. So, I fought John Law and John Law. It sounds familiar, but I just don't remember that. Ice Hand. Yeah, like I said, people. Some people are, especially like CEOs and stuff. They're just kind of out of touch with everybody else, and they say some stupid things. So again, it's kind of a loose one today. We do have, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 snacks. I want to say 7 snacks. We do have an adult beverage. We do not have the soft drink. We do have adult beverage, and we're just going to kind of wing it. We're going to do. I want to try to do more travel talk and more food talk. I want to get some more talking and more interaction with you guys, and as opposed to me telling you stuff, asking you stuff, and learning from you like you learned from me. John Law. Oh, that John Law. Okay. I don't remember that. So I do remember, now that you mentioned John Law as a promoter, I remember because it used to, when you would buy the tickets for the concerts, like at the Music Hall or the Orpheum, or it would say John Law Presents on the tickets. So that I do remember John Law. I just don't remember the I Fought John Law and John Law Won. There was a couple of other promoters too, and I can't remember who they were back then. Because like I would say starting in 75. I would go to a lot of concerts. So it was like December 75 and then into 76. And I saw a whole bunch of concerts in 76, 77, 78. I just like, I was in high school and I had a job. So basically I did work study. And so at noon, when everybody went to lunch, I went to work, and I worked from noon to 5. And so I had a paycheck of 5 hours, minimum wage, of course. But back then concerts were $5, $5 for a concert ticket. So, that was like a 2 hours pay for me to go to a concert. And so back then, I would, pretty much any major act that came, I would get tickets to, and I would go see it. Things were a lot different then. There was no online to buy tickets. Once you heard that tickets were on sale or were going to be on sale, then you would have to go to a ticket agency to buy them, or the box office or whatever. You'd have to physically go and buy them. There were some exceptions to that. In 1978, Aerosmith played at the Boston Music Hall, which I think it was called the Wang Center, and it might be called something else now, but back then it was the Boston Music Hall. And they were going to be doing 2 shows at the Boston Music Hall. And basically they did a lottery. So you basically mailed in a request for tickets. Now, I don't remember if you had to send them money. I would imagine you have to send them money, but it was like a lottery, and you mailed in an envelope to get tickets, and then they, a self-addressed stamped envelope. And if you got in, they would mail you back the tickets. I imagine if you didn't get in or you didn't get tickets, they would mail you your money back. And so I did get tickets. I don't remember exactly when that was, but again, remember it was 1978. And so it was when Aerosmith was at their most inebriated, I think. So the concert didn't last very long. Tyler got drunk. I think Tom Hamilton might have punched him on stage or something like that. So, it wasn't a great concert. But, for $5, what are you going to do? So I do remember John Law being a music promoter. I just don't remember that saying, I fought John Law and John Law won, which is funny if you know the song, I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law. Nah, I think I'm in the wrong key. But yeah, so that's funny. And that's why it's funny. So Ice Hand, when you were a Mass Hall and you were at BU and you were there in the 80s, did you spend, because BU is right up the street, did you spend a lot of time over at the Paradise is right up the street, Paradise Theater. It sounds like a big place. It's actually kind of a small place, which is really cool because they had a lot of big name acts that would play there. And it didn't matter where you sat. It was a club. And wherever you sat, there were great seats. It was a great place to see, top name acts. And then in the other direction, just a short ways away, was Kenmore Square. Kenmore Square had the Rat. And I think I had that written down to talk about the Rat today. So we're talking about it. The Rat closed in I want to say the 90s. It's not even there. The block isn't even there anymore. It's been redeveloped. But the Rat was like this dive. I mean, literally dive. The men's room was, the toilets were always overflowing, and the thing was they were raised up, so you went up to the step to get into the men's room from the club itself, from where the bands would play, and the toilets would overflow, and they would flow down into the place where the people would dance or sit or stand or whatever. And the thing that was terrible about that is that the carpet was like, eventually the carpet was just all falling apart. The stage was on milk cartons, but they had one of the best sound systems of any club in Boston, and they had one of the best lighting systems. So like when they would turn those lights on and they were on full force, if you were on that stage, because we did play there a few times, when they would turn those lights on in your eyes, you couldn't see anything because those lights were in your eyes. But a lot of people, when they first came to Boston, played at the Rat. So like the Police, their first time in Boston, they played at the Rat. The Elvis Costello, first time in Boston, played at the Rat. So at the Rat, I don't think it could have held more than 200 people. It was really tiny club, but I loved going there as well. The Cars, I used to go see the Cars because they played there like Friday nights and on a very frequent basis. So I used to go see the Cars there. This was even before they got their record contract and did their first album. I used to go see the Cars there all the time. I was very nerdy, so the only act I saw was Johnny Winter. Still, no, Johnny Winter was Johnny Winter is no slouch on electric blues guitar, so that would have been a good show to see. Now Johnny Winter, I know like Rick Derringer wrote a lot of stuff for there, but was Rick Derringer playing with Johnny Winter at the time that you saw him? Hey, Stoner Kitchen is here. Welcome, Stoner, and Portmanteau. Love the Taco Samyang video. Yeah. So the thing is like there were four episodes that I put out on the same day. They were not recorded on the same day. Obviously, you just have to look at them to know that they were not recorded on the same day. But there were 4 episodes that I decided to put out on the same day, and I decided to put them out on the same day because they were all related. They were all Latin American inspired ramen. So we did that one. We did there was a cup noodles one. I think there were 2 cup noodles ones. There was Cielo Foods, birria ramen and everything. And so I decided I'm going to put them all on one day, and that was last Thursday. And I staggered them. So the first one came out 6 a.m. We're talking about West Coast time. 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. And yeah, so yeah, a lot of people did like those, but you couldn't tell by the people who watched it or everything or left likes on there. But still, I don't think Derringer was with him, but I may just not remember. Yeah, maybe not. I saw Edgar Winter, but he was playing with Ringo Starr. So it was Ringo Starr and his all-star band. So Edgar Winter was playing with him, and I saw Edgar Winter play with him. And I saw Rick Derringer several times when I was living in Boston. So I did see him at the Paradise, met him at the Paradise, because kind of hung out behind the Paradise Theater. And so we got to see the sound check and got to meet him, got his autograph and stuff. And then I think I saw him one other time at Mr. C's Rock Palace in Lowell. So yeah, I am very grateful to have seen a lot of people who aren't around anymore, and just like legends like Chuck Berry and Les Paul and stuff like that. So I am grateful to have seen all of those. Any Reckless Eating collabs coming up? Hey, Galen. Galen, are you new to the channel or new to the chat or anything? Because I don't recognize you being in the chat before. But I need to make it happen. So I just need to contact Matt and arrange something and try to figure out what we can do. I'm here in Colombia. He's there in California. But there's got to be something we can do. Like maybe he can do something from California. I can do something from Colombia on the same thing, like, some kind of chips or something like that. So yeah, I got to, still bummed I never got to see Tom Petty. Yeah, I got to see Tom Petty. It was around 2002, I think. And it was Jackson Browne opening for Tom Petty. And this was in Texas, in Austin, Texas, at the Frank Irwin Center, which again, doesn't exist anymore. And they tore it down. I don't know if they built another stadium down there, or another, hall, I guess. It was a sports arena, but yeah, I did get to see Tom Petty when I was living in Texas. Chuck Berry would have been great, but I heard he would usually be backed up by a scratch local band, which doesn't sound like a good gig. No, actually, it's not bad at all. Because the thing is, remember, it's Chuck Berry, right? So if Chuck Berry is being backed up by a local band, that local band knows all Chuck Berry songs. They have to know all Chuck Berry songs. Like I was in several bands, and we did a bunch of Chuck Berry covers. So I would think that if you're touring and you pick up a band from scratch, they're going to be able to play Chuck Berry songs. They might even play it better than Chuck Berry played it. but I can't recall if, like, I've seen Chuck Berry 3 times. First time in 1977, and again, I couldn't tell you who he played with or if it was a regular band. Then I saw him in, I think it was 85 in New York City. There was a place called the Lone Star Cafe. That's not there anymore either. I saw him. It was a really, really small place. And I remember they seated us by the door, and we ordered a bowl of chili just to keep warm, because this was in like February, I think. So I did see him there. And then the last time I saw him was, I think it was a year or two, maybe it was the year before he died. And it was kind of sad, because when I saw him in 77, he was, vibrant. He was all over the place and everything. And when the last time I saw him, he couldn't remember it. He apologized to the audience, and he says, "I'm really sorry. I just can't remember a lot of these songs." And you knew he was going, and it was just kind of a sad thing to see. But fortunate that I did get to see him 3 times. Saw Jerry Lee Lewis, saw Fats Domino, saw Little Richard. So saw a lot of the old rock and rollers and stuff. Saw the Beach Boys. I think all three of the Wilson brothers were alive at the time. So I'm a subscriber, just silent. Nothing wrong with that, but welcome. Everybody, please give Galen Holden a warm and hearty Trippy Food welcome, and welcome to the chat. So one of my absolute best concerts was King Crimson. Oh, so which version of King Crimson did you see? Because there's like different, King Crimson changes and their music changes with them and everything. So if you go back to the original King Crimson, is a lot different than the red lineup, which was Wetton, Bruford, Fripp, and David Cross, I think, which is a lot different than the 1980s lineup, which was like Adrian Belew, who's a bass player, the Chapman Stick guy, Tony Levin, which is, and so I saw them. I saw them around 2005 or something like that. Fripp was in the band, and Levin was in the band. I don't remember who else was in the band. Excellent concert. I also saw a band called 21st Century Schizoid Band, which had a lot of the other members of King Crimson without Robert Fripp in it. That was good. I can imagine it was good, but I'm just trying to figure out what lineup you saw King Crimson. Saw them maybe 3 years ago. Oh, 3 years ago. Yeah, well, Fripp's always there. Anytime it's called King Crimson, Fripp is there. And I don't remember who else would be there. But I can't think of a lineup I didn't like. So there we go. Well, we are at 4:23. We'll start to get into the food, and we'll start to get into the chatting and everything. You get me talking about music, I'm not going to shut up, because that's kind of my thing. So I'm trying to, like, I would love to talk about music and just really get into a musical thing, but I just don't know that this is the right channel for it. So I'll figure something out. I do have a YouTube channel for the band that I was in back in the late 80s. And maybe we could use that to do live chat and talk about music. So I'll let you guys know if you guys would be interested in that, and maybe we can do like a live stream where we talk about music and stuff, and we could do it on that channel. I don't see why we absolutely could not do it on that channel. I am not monetizing on that channel at all, so we could even play clips and stuff like that. It wouldn't make a difference because, like I said, not monetizing. All right, so let's start with our adult beverage, because that's where you guys like to start. Also, last week when we did our live stream, we did a poll, and I asked you guys, do you like the trivia questions? You want me to keep doing the trivia questions? And I think it was 80% or so of you said you wanted to continue doing the trivia questions. So we'll try to do the trivia questions like 80% of the time. So I don't have trivia questions for today and maybe next week, because it'll be the third one we do. We'll bring back the trivia questions next week. But, like I said, 80% of you said you want to bring back the trivia questions, so we will do the trivia questions. Maybe schedule a non-food live day about music on a different day than this one. Well, like I said, I don't really want to water down the brand, as they say. So I don't really want to do that here, where we're kind of branching out and doing something else. I want to kind of keep this one food and travel. But like I said, I do have that other channel, the Notice. and we can definitely do it on that. So I'll just let you guys know. I'll post a notification here that we're going to be doing the live stream on the Notice YouTube channel. And I maybe that would be fun. That would be fun to get that going and just really talk about music and stuff like that. Because, like I said, I can go on for hours about music, and any of you guys that would be interested in that and everything, we'll just, we'll go over there. And I won't schedule it for the same day that we're doing. Well, that would be silly for me to schedule it the same day we're doing this, because I'm not going to do that instead of this. And it would be silly to do that and then do another live stream later and everything. So I think that's what we're going to do. All right. So our beverage today, this was interesting. We were at the market, and when I say market, it's not like a grocery store market. It's like a farmer's market kind of thing, but it's mercado. It's the market, the Saturday market. And there was one booth where they were selling some natural stuff, and they had this. And I had never seen this before. So this is Aldebaran, not Alderon, because that would be, they're not there anymore. Aldebaran Cerveza Artesanal, and it's a pomegranate pale ale. This is a 6% ABV, which is a little bit on the high side. So Aldebaran Licores was founded in 2018 by Adriana and Sydney, no last names apparently, in Duitama, Boyacá, Colombia. So Boyacá is a department. Think of it as a state. In Colombia, you have departments. In the United States, you have states. So Boyacá is a department here in Colombia, and Duitama is the town where they brew the beverage. Now, I think that this was kind of, the whole brewery thing was kind of an afterthought. So originally, they have these geodesic domes that they built, and they do glamping there. So for any of you have heard of glamping, it's when you go camping, but you have like modern amenities and electricity and running water and all that stuff and everything. I don't know why they call it why they make a camping reference to it. It's not camping, but they call it glamping, and that's what they started out doing. And then eventually they decided they were going to do a brewery as well, which they did. So I'm kind of excited about this. It looks really, really interesting. It does have the excessive alcohol thing here, 6%. Like, I think in terms of alcoholic beverages you get in the U.S., 6% to me doesn't sound like a lot, because the average is 5, right? And you're not going to. I don't really see any kind of warnings in the United States. I think you get like that pregnant people shouldn't drink alcohol warning, but that's about it. So it just seems like to say that 5% or 6% is excessive alcohol seems a little odd to me, but it is what it is. The fruit on the label looks like passion fruit. It does look like passion fruit, but you know what? Maybe it is passion fruit. I thought it was pomegranate. It doesn't. Well, let's see what the ingredients say. Agua, malt, which is water. Malta, which is malt. Lipulo, and pulpa de galupa. So it's galupa pulp. So that fruit they're calling galupa. It's not passion fruit, because passion fruit is maracuya. So it's not. I know it's not passion fruit. Let's see if we can translate that. Let's see. I think pomegranate. So I'm going to try to translate pomegranate from English to Spanish and see what we come up with. No, pomegranate is granada. So that doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I guess we'll find out. I thought it was pomegranate. It does look like passion fruit now that you mention it. Wait, let's get a close-up of that. It does look like passion fruit, but passion fruit is maracuya, and there is no maracuya in the ingredients. So I don't know. A little odd. We're just going to try this. Galupa is a cool word. Did I say that right? Let's see if I mean. Gulupa. G-U-L-U-P-A. Gulupa. It's still a cool word. Nice catch there, Galen, that it does look like passion fruit, but because I thought it was pomegranate. And apparently we're both wrong. Enjoying the Colombiana scenery. Oh, you're talking about on the thumbnail? Yeah, I love those old buildings and stuff. I mean, we're talking about, buildings that are like 400, 500 years old. So that's kind of cool. All right, here we go. Anyone want to guess what color this is? It's in a brown bottle, so we don't know. I mean, that looks like a purple fruit, but it's kind of a gold color, orangey color. And I believe this is a lager. Galupa translates in Google to purple passion fruit. Okay, so we are talking passion fruit. All right, I learned something new. So this is going to be a passion fruit lager. I think a pale ale. It's a pale ale. So ignore me for saying pomegranate. And a nice smell. It's tart, which passion fruit typically isn't tart. Maybe they say purple, specifically purple passion fruit, because generally the purple one is passion fruit, just passion fruit, which again they call maracuya here. But in Colombia, they have other kinds of passion fruit as well. So they have curuba, which is banana passion fruit, and so maybe that's why maybe they have a name that specifically differentiates the purple passion fruit from the banana passion fruit. Oh, and also I think last week we had that granadilla, which is also a passion fruit in the passion fruit family. So yeah, I guess that's how they specify that. This is nice because there's a tartness to it. Now maracuya or passion fruit is really, really sweet, but this has a tartness to it that's kind of nice, but it's crisp, it's clean. It just has this like faint kind of like fruity taste, but it's not overpowering. It's not like you're drinking like it's not like passion fruit like overwhelms and everything. So it's kind of subtle, the passion fruit flavor. Again, it's tart, it's clean, it's a little bit sweet. That's really nice. 6% ABV, which is a little bit higher than average. Average is about 5%. I'm going to give that a thumbs up. That's pretty good. Grub Warp has just joined us. Welcome, Grub Warp. Glad you could make it. Let's see. Did I miss anything? You guys need to keep me honest. Again, it's not like we have thousands of people in the chat and everything where if something scrolls by, we're going to miss that. So just let me know if I didn't recognize somebody coming into the room. Let me know if somebody asked a question I didn't get to or made a statement that requires some. So yeah, because Galen Holden said he thought I was in California. Galen, I'm assuming that you are you are a subscriber to Reckless Eating, and you've probably seen me on Reckless Eating and Trippy Food. So I was in California for a while until January. Well, it is January, but I got here at the beginning of January. Not sure I'm going to be here, but here I am. Okay, so yeah, that's going to be a thumbs up. All right, so let's do some questions again, because like I want to do more travel stuff, and I want to ask you guys questions and stuff like that. So let's talk about bucket lists, right? So what would you guys say, and just like throw out, try to narrow it down to one. If you can't narrow it down to one, you can put a couple in there and everything. But what is your top bucket list destination? Like, do you have? I don't know if you guys have a bucket list. And the bucket list would say, like, I want to go here, 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 and here before I die. But what is your top one? Like, if somebody says, like, okay, you can only make one more trip, or if you remember made a trip, you would just make one trip. Where would it be? Where would you want to be? Where would you want to make a trip to? Like, if somebody told me, Val, you can only make one more trip in your whole life. You can only go one other place. Where would you go? For me, I know this sounds silly, but it'd be Antarctica. I always wanted to visit Antarctica. I want to see Antarctica. You have to go. You have to go in the southern hemisphere summer, which is the northern hemisphere winter, which would be now. You'd have to go now. this time of the year, and there's this very, very narrow window where you can go and you won't be like snowed or iced in for 6 months. So yeah, for me. Now, the term bucket list, it sounds like it's been around forever, but you guys are familiar with bucket list, right? You guys are familiar with the term the bucket list. And so the term bucket list, it's not that old. The term bucket list was coined by American and British screenwriter Justin Zackham in 1999 when he drew up Justin's list of things to do before I kick the bucket. So that's why they call it a bucket list. It's like the things that I want to do before I kick the bucket. The things I want to eat before I kick the bucket. The things I want to see before I kick the bucket. That's why he called it a bucket list. Now, American and British screenwriter Justin Zackham wrote the screenplay for the 2007 film, The Bucket List. So you probably heard the term before, again, he coined the phrase in 1999. You probably heard the phrase in between, but it became popular with the 2007 film, The Bucket List, because the film was about two guys who, figured they were dying, and this is a list of all the things that we want to do before we die. So that's where the term bucket list came out. So let me ask you guys again. Hey, Tom, is the Denver game over? So Tom had originally said, oh, it's halftime. Okay, so you're kind of poking in, poking out, and well, welcome, Tom, as long as you are here. Tom let me know the other day. He said, I'm probably not going to be on the live stream because there's a Denver Broncos game. And I said, I didn't know you were a big sports fan. He goes, I'm not, but I'm getting the game for free. So more power to you. How are they doing, Tom? It's halftime. How are they doing? Are they winning? Are they losing? All right. So how was the adult beverage today? Joshua, you must have just come into the room. So we're still drinking it. It was outstanding. And we determined that it was a passion fruit or maracuya pale ale. It's actually very good. This is it right here. I would tell you where to get it. I don't know if you can get it in the U.S. It's made here in Colombia. Tie game 7-7. Well, that's a good way to end at halftime because then you come back after halftime and it's anybody's guess who's going to win. Matt is a good guy. And the thing is like he, not as much as he used to, but he had that whole Matt Zion persona, especially in the early days of Reckless Eating and everything. But he's a very human person. Let's put it that way. He's a champion for the downtrodden and stuff. He's a good person to know on a personal level. So I do enjoy the friendship that I have with Matt on a personal level. I like passion fruit as well, Joshua. Now I don't know if you can get it in the United States, but one of the again, we were talking about that there's different varieties. So one is called Grenadilla, which is an orange one. It's the one that we did last week on the show. And then there's something called a banana passion fruit or caruba is what they call it here. So I don't know if you can get those in the States, but they're all in the passion fruit family. And if you get a chance, you should try those. Stoner, I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or you're being serious. And the reason I say that is because you say my bucket list is Plymouth Rock. Now, for anybody who watched our Thanksgiving show or our Thanksgiving episode, it was a 3-day or 3-episode thing leading up to Thanksgiving. So 3 days before Thanksgiving was episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. So there was this epic road trip that Julie and I took from Boston to Plymouth to see Plymouth Rock. And so some people, just from the historic standpoint, really, really want to see Plymouth Rock. And then other people, like when they get there, go like, oh my God, how long do we drive for this? So I can't tell. I might come to tears the day you visit. You probably will, but not for the reason you think. So the thing is like, and I always tell people, you should go. Right? Like if you're in the area, you should go. You should go see it. And there are other things within that little area there from a historic standpoint that are worth checking out or worth seeing from a historic standpoint. Now, if you're a person who loves history and everything, I would go. But the thing is when you do go to Plymouth Rock, you find out that the history of that particular rock, of that rock itself, is a little bit dubious at best. Now, the reason I was questioning that, asking you if that was your bucket list and you were just being sarcastic, is because one of my bucket list items that I've already done, I think this was back in 2009 I did this, I want to say. One of my bucket list items was to visit the world's largest ball of twine, because the world's largest ball of twine is always it's always kind of like a joke, right? So like in movies and stuff, they'll throw that in as a joke. We're going to the world's largest ball of twine, ha 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 ha, right? But that's like Mecca for like roadside attractions, to see the world's largest ball of twine. So people would say like, oh, you're talking about the one in I want to say Minnesota. And I'm like, no, it's not in Minnesota. So there are several people claiming to have the world's largest ball of twine. The world's actual largest ball of actual twine is in Cawker City, Kansas. And the reason it's large, it's as large as it is and keeps getting larger, is because people are constantly putting more and more twine on it. I had the privilege of adding more twine to the world's largest ball of twine. When I got there, the caretaker of the ball of twine said, hey, would you like to Whine twine on the world's largest ball of twine? And I'm thinking to myself, that's the stupidest question anyone's asked me. That's like I'll be able to die happy afterwards. And the thought did cross my mind that I was going to die in Cawker City, Kansas, because there's nothing there. If I had died, nobody would know. But the one in Minnesota is the world's largest ball of twine wound by one person. So it's considerably smaller, but it was entirely wound by one person. So that's the world's largest ball of twine wound by one person. The one in Cawker City is the world's largest ball of twine. And then they have other, like the world's largest ball of sisal twine, and the ball the world's largest rubber ball band and stuff like that. And so it kind of gets, everybody's claiming, well, I have the world's largest ball of twine, but it's this kind of twine, so it's different or whatever. But the actual world's largest ball of twine is in Cawker City, Kansas. And it's one of those Plymouth Rock things. You go there, you look at it, you're like, that's a big ball of twine, and then you're done. So that's it. Base count at Mount Everest. That's a good one. Yeah. It seems to me, Galen, that you're wise enough to know that people die on Mount Everest, and so base camp seems like it's a really good thing to strive for, because the average person it's still high up, it's still pretty high up, but base camp seems like it seems reasonable and doable. And if you were to say to climb Mount Everest, I'd say good luck with that, because like I said, people die all the time. But base camp is a really, because you're there, you're at the base camp, you're looking up, and there's Mount Everest, the world's tallest mountain. Well, the world's tallest mountain above sea level. Let's put it that way. I think there are other mountains. There's the tallest mountain is somewhere in, I want to say, the Pacific Ocean, but the base of it is way, way, way below sea level, and not much of it comes up over the top. And so there's actually technically, from base to top, is the world's largest mountain. But the world's tallest mountain from not sea level, but from its base, from above sea level, let's put it that way. The world's largest mountain, tallest mountain above sea level, is Everest. So I visited the world's largest Kokopelli. Now, my guess is the world's largest Kokopelli would be somewhere in Arizona, maybe around, what is that? What is that kind of tourist town where they have the church in the rock and stuff? Sedona, somewhere near Sedona, Stoner? Yes, no, maybe so. All right, so we have a couple of bucket list items. Stoner, if you're serious about Plymouth Rock and everything, I think that's admirable, and I think you should do it. Oh, just south of there. Okay. I have a picture that I took somewhere in Arizona of a very, very tall Kokopelli, but I don't know if it's the biggest or not. So Plymouth Rock is decent. Mount Everest base camp, and then I think Janice said, hang on, I missed. I think I mentioned it when she said, "Oh, Tokyo Disney." So Janice is a theme park goddess, so I would imagine that would be an admirable bucket list item. So that's interesting, no? And like I said, I learned from you guys. I learned what you guys find interesting and stuff. When we start having commuter flights to Mars, we can visit the tallest mountain in the solar system, Olympus Mons. Now, how do they actually know that it's the tallest mountain in the solar system? Like, because I don't know if they've actually been able to like penetrate the outer layers of not the atmosphere, but whatever like is obscuring some of the planets and everything to see what the tallest mountain is. Do you know how tall that is, Iceland? How tall Olympus Mons is? Commuter flights to Mars. Maybe in our lifetime. I think they say it takes 6 months to get there, if I'm not mistaken. 6 months? Is that right? Does that sound right to anybody? It takes 6 months to get to Mars. Okay. So as long as we're on the term on discussing bucket list destinations, what is your top bucket list food item? So like what is the thing that you want to eat that's been elusive so far that you want to eat before you die? Now, the funny thing is some people say kopi luwak. So for those of you who don't know what kopi luwak is, in the Indonesian coffee plantations, there is an animal called the palm civet. And the palm civet likes the taste of the coffee cherries. So the coffee cherry is that fruit that grows around the coffee bean. The coffee bean is the seed in the middle of the coffee cherry. And he likes they like the flavor of the coffee cherry. So they eat the coffee cherries. Now, the people that work in the plantations, in the coffee plantations, were not allowed to take any of the coffee home. But initially, this kopi luwak would eat the coffee cherries, and then the coffee beans would pass undigested through its system. And so they would find the poop from the civet, the palm civet. They would find its poop, and it had the coffee beans in it. And so they said, well, the plantation won't mind if we take this home. So they would take it home, they would clean it, they would roast it, they would grind it, and they found out that it was the best tasting cup of coffee they had. It was better than the best beans that they would pick off the trees or bushes or whatever the coffee grows on. And this is because as the coffee cherries pass through the system, and the animal digests it, it has enzymes in its digestive system that neutralizes the acid in the coffee beans. And so that's why it's a really, really good makes a really good cup of coffee. It was very, very expensive. And so the coffee plantations realized they could sell this at a higher price than they could readily sell the coffee. And so what they did was they put the palm civets in cages, and they would feed them coffee cherries, and the animal would eat the coffee cherries and then poop it out, but it would be in the cage, and then they would process it and they would sell it for an exorbitant amount of money. And then I guess the people who worked in the plantations were probably able to take home the good coffee, but no longer able to take home the kopi luwak. So kopi luwak had been a bucket list item for me for a long time. And I think it was, I want to say, also maybe around 2009. So some people that I worked with, there was, I think, 5 of us. We went in for a pound of the coffee beans. And so that was $150 for a pound of the coffee beans. We got a brand new coffee machine. We only used distilled water. We used, we didn't wash the cups with soap. So everything we just kept, we didn't want anything to change the flavor of that. And it worked, what it worked out to be, everybody contributing to it, was about $5 a cup of coffee, which is, you're going to pay for $5 for a cup of coffee at like some high-end coffee shop, right? So it worked out to be about $5 per cup of coffee. But it was the best cup of coffee I ever had in my life. So very, very mild, but strong coffee flavor, but very, very mild and very, very little acid. Everything was really good. But the reason I mentioned kopi luwak was because I don't know how many of you have seen the movie The Bucket List. And so in The Bucket List, at the beginning of the movie, one of the characters has this machine that he's making kopi luwak. And as soon as he mentions kopi luwak, I knew like the punchline of the joke, or I knew where it was going, because he, obviously didn't say it was from palm civets or anything. He just said, this is the best coffee you can buy. It's kopi luwak, and it's, really expensive and everything. And then later in the movie, it kind of like it comes out to actually what it was, and he's in shock. But so Kopi Luwak is on some people's bucket list. It was kind of on mine. What did you guys say? Did you guys take a train ride somewhere and cruise through Alaska? For our anniversary, sometime back in 2005, for our anniversary, Claudia and I took a cruise to Alaska. So it left from Seattle, and then I think there were 5 stops going up the coast from Alaska. And there was in one place, I think it was Skagway, if I'm not mistaken. And once you're in Skagway, you can take a train that takes you up through the Yukon, and it goes up into the Yukon, up into the mountains in the Yukon, and then brings you back and everything. And that was cool. And that's something you can do as an excursion on that cruise. So you get both of those in the same one. If you do get a chance to take a cruise through Alaska, which is a really nice way to do it, because if you're going to drive through Alaska, it's going to take you weeks. It'll take you a couple of weeks. Alaska is huge. The distance from the bottom of Alaska to the top of Alaska is sort of like from the bottom of California to the top of Washington State. It's about the same distance. But when you go on the cruise, you got a place to sleep at night. When you wake up the next day, you're in another city, and you've got to do excursions and everything. So I would highly recommend that if you get a chance to do an Alaska cruise, to do that. And I think, like I said, one of them does have a train ride. There's an old-fashioned steam train, the old-fashioned trains that takes you up into the Yukon and everything. So I would definitely do that, Joshua. Will you be reviewing food in Colombian gentlemen establishments interested in for scientific purposes? I'm going to be honest with you, Stoner. I haven't seen a lot of, I guess what you would call them gentlemen's clubs. I'm sure they have them here. I haven't really seen them, and I don't know if they did, even if they even have food. So I'll check it out. My guess is Bogota is a major city. There are 9 million people living in Bogota. If they have it anywhere in Colombia, they're going to have it in Bogota. So I'll look into it and see. Climb Mount Whitney, Mount Baldy, Half Dome, and small Grand Teton, but I'd never consider Everest. No, well, but the thing is like Everest Base Camp is kind of a cool thing because you're there seeing Everest. I would never consider climbing Everest either. I haven't really done a lot of mountain climbing. I've been to Mount Whitney. I don't know if you want to call it a base camp, but I've been to the base of Mount Whitney. And the reason that I was at Mount Whitney is because I made this trip where, and we're talking about road trips, I made this trip where I went from the lowest point below sea level in the, I want to say, in the Western Hemisphere, the lowest point below sea level, to the highest point within the contiguous 48 states. So the lowest point below sea level in the Western Hemisphere is 277 feet below sea level, and that's Badwater. And Badwater is in the Mojave Desert. So I started out there at Badwater, 277 feet below sea level, and then drove through Death Valley, which was there's really cool stuff in Death Valley in the Mojave Desert. And then up into, I'm trying to remember where Mount Whitney, like the Lone Pine, I think. Lone Pine is probably the closest place to get to Mount Whitney. So the Mount Whitney Auto Road that goes to like the base of Mount Whitney is in Lone Pine. But there's also Alabama Hills. Alabama Hills is kind of at the foot of Mount Whitney. And it's really, really cool because it's very otherworldly. The rock formations and stuff. So much so that a lot of movies are filmed, especially science fiction movies and things that are supposed to take place on other planets, are filmed at Alabama Hills. I'm not sure which ones in particular, but Alabama Hills is really cool to check out. And then I've been to like the base of Mount Whitney, so it's a very impressive mountain. I mean, to look at. So I've been there, been to the lowest point below sea level in the Western Hemisphere, and the base of the highest point above sea level in the contiguous 48 states. So would you say that it was a difficult climb, Galen, to get up to Mount Whitney? Back to the game. Okay, Tom. Well, we'll talk to you later. Have a good week. Kobe beef from Japan. Yeah, that's a good bucket list item. I think it's doable. It's just very expensive. and you have to make sure that you're getting authentic Kobe beef, but it's probably doable. It's just very expensive. A beer actually sounds good right now. I have a rainbow sherbet sour beer in the fridge. That sounds good too. Rainbow sherbet sour beer. Wow, that sounds really interesting. If you crack that open, let us know how that is. That sounds really interesting. Okay. So we didn't get a whole lot of, I guess, like my top bucket list food is stuff that I can't easily get. So I would say like moose. I would love to try moose. I've not tried moose. You have to know somebody who's hunted moose to be able to try it. It's not, you can't sell it commercially, but if you know somebody who has a license to hunt moose, I think you get like the license to hunt moose, you get one per lifetime. And if you know somebody who hunts moose, then that's your only way you're going to try it. And so far, I've not known anybody who has hunted moose and have not tried moose. So that's definitely one of my top bucket list items, is to try moose. Now, if I go to other countries, like I think we had this discussion previously. If I go to other countries where something is normal, like if I'm in Japan where they eat whale, and I have an opportunity to eat whale in Japan, I think I would try it. If I'm in Korea, if I'm in a restaurant that serves dog, I think I would. Where's Doodle? Anyone want to hear me? I think I would try it. So my philosophy on food is I never turn anything down, and I will always try. Like something that, Val, is there anything that you won't try? And I'm like, yeah, something that I've had before and just wasn't crazy about. And even then, I will give it several tries. I would say like there have been things that I have not been crazy about the first couple of times I tried it, and then eventually started to really like it, like uni, sea urchin. So yeah, I would say like at the top of my list of bucket list foods would be moose for me. Would you pair moose up with squirrel, Val? Well, funny you should say that, Icehand. I have not had squirrel yet either, and I would put that on my bucket list as well, and I would try squirrel. So if I could have them at the same time, better still, moose and squirrel. Yeah, I would have Bullwinkle and Rocky on the same plate. I would definitely do that. I have had, I don't know, because I never tell you that I know something if I don't know. I don't know if squirrel is a rodent or not, but I have had a lot of rodents. I've eaten a lot of rodents. So I have had, what have I had? I've had muskrat, nutria, beaver. Yes, beaver is a rodent. Capybara. Let's see what else. I don't think guinea pig is a rodent, but if it is, I've eaten that. And a mouse. And the mouse that I had was baby mouse. And no, I did not go to a pet store and buy one of those pinky mice. I actually, I think it was Eddie Lynn. No, it wasn't Eddie Lynn. It was Jeff Fu. Jeff Fu, when I was doing Kamikaze Kitchen, he came to one of the shoots that we were doing at the LA Times, and he brought a bottle of mouse wine. So it was like from China, and basically it's not wine per se, but it's alcohol with herbs in it and baby mouse. They would put like the pinky mouse, the day old baby mice in the bottle. And so he decided that we were going to do shots of it. So it was him, me, Eddie Lynn, and Noel Carter, who was the main food editor at the Times at the time. And so Eddie tried it first, didn't like it at all. And basically they poured a shot and put the mouse in the shot, and then you would just drink the shot, but you'd leave the mouse in the glass and everything. Eddie didn't like it. Noelle didn't like it, but she wasn't like, she was just kind of like, yeah, that's not good. And then it was my turn to try it. And then I drank the mouse wine, and then I go like, oh, what the hell? And then I reached into the glass and I pulled out the baby mouse and I ate it. And I'm like, what's the point of that being in bottle if you're not going to eat that? So I did eat that, and it tasted like bad bologna. So I did have a baby mouse. So mice did have a mouse. And I think in general, things that you find in a bottle of alcohol are generally not good. Like if you have them outside of the bottle of alcohol, like scorpion. I've had fried scorpion before. Liked fried scorpion. Fried scorpion was really good. very, very similar to shrimp. But there was a bottle of scorpion mezcal, and in the bottom of the bottle was it was an emperor scorpion for some bizarre reason. They don't live anywhere where they make mezcal, but they put an emperor scorpion in the bottom of the bottle. And I'm like, yeah, I'll try it. And so I ate the scorpion that was in the bottom of the bottle of mezcal. Now, I will tell you that unless a scorpion is fried, the exoskeleton is going to be really chewy. So think about shrimp, steamed shrimp, right? If you have steamed shrimp, you have that, and somebody leaves a shell on there. If you get a piece of shell in your mouth, that's like eating plastic. That's exactly what eating a scorpion that has not been fried is like. It's like plastic. It's like eating plastic. You'll chew it forever. When you do chew it, you get the soft, squishy innards in there, and then it's absorbed the worst of the mezcal in that. So it was just like this really bad thing. But like I said, you know me, I don't turn anything down, so I decided I had to try that. Bucket list for me is Greece, Japan, and PEI. That's interesting. PEI is an interesting choice. There's a lot of people who like to go to Canada. They're big things like Quebec, Montreal. What are the English cities? Or Vancouver, BC. But not a lot of people would pick Prince Edward Island. So that's really interesting. I have been to New Brunswick, and I thought New Brunswick was interesting. Really kind of cool little place, but not a place that a lot of people visit. A lot of people don't go to New Brunswick. So PEI is interesting, and Japan and Greece, all very admirable. Portmanteau, those are all cool places. Dave Aiken is back. Sorry, I'm late. Well, we're kind of winging it. We've only gone through our adult beverages. We haven't even gotten into our snacks yet. So let's do that. Let's see. What do we want to start with? Let's start with the perishable stuff. All right. While I'm doing that, let me ask you a question. How many of you have been to all 7 continents? Or let me ask you this way: how many continents have you been to? Because I don't know that very many of you, if any of you, have been to Antarctica. But if you have, put it in there. So just give me a number. How many? There's 7 continents, allegedly. I still think Europe and Asia is the same continent, but how many continents have you been to? So while you do that, I'm going to get this ready. So we have 2 breads. And I think these are probably a sourdough base, but I'm not sure. These are also from Astral Taller de Pan Artesanal, which we did last week. We did the jalapeno and cheese one. So we have 2 today. And so the first one that we're going to do is pan coco, which is coconut. So it's coconut bread. Oh, it smells like, my God, it's just, you get that coconut smell. It smells like coconut. And the second one that we're going to do is pan chocolate. So it's a chocolate pan. And it looks like, I can't tell if these are chocolate chips. They look like there's chocolate chips in there. So we're going to do those 2. Now again, Astral Taller de Pan Artesanal was founded by Daniel Cala and Manuela Peralta in 2012 in Villa Leyva, Colombia. That place is just like, I can't walk by there and not go in. It's just like you smell it coming out of there, and you're just like, you're like in a cartoon where you're just kind of floating like that into the place. It's just that the smell of what they're baking in there is just like, it's outstanding. Thought I went to Antarctica once, but turns out I just got gelato and got lost in the walk-in freezer. Good thing you didn't die in the freezer. All right, so let's do, I think the chocolate's going to have more flavor. So let's start with the coconut bread, or pan coco. Now I'm guessing that it's, I don't see like pieces of coconut in there. So I'm guessing that's like coconut flour. And there's you do see some like coconut flakes on the top. Let's give this a shot. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Did I miss your comedic gold response to my question, Val? Which question? Hang on. Can you repeat the question? I don't know if I got it. Or maybe I answered it, but I'm just scrolling up a little bit. Let's see. Was it what? Because I do see where you were talking about having commuter flights to Mars, which, I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Was that your question? Or was your question about taking commuter flights to Mars? So this has like the coconut on the top, the coconut flakes on the top definitely have that coconut texture. The bread, I mean, you could smell the coconut in there, but it's subtle in the bread. They do a lot of stuff with sourdough. They do also do whole wheat or whole wheat sourdough. This is really good. Now, what would you serve this with? Maybe if you were having like Hawaiian food, you might serve this with Hawaiian food. I think it would go, would stand up really well with a moco loco and just add, had that nice flavor to it. Maybe Jamaican food would go with Jamaican food as well, as just kind of a roll on the side. I'm trying to think if you would do something with it, like to make a slider or something. I can't really think of, what kind of slider you could make with it. I would say like fish, some sort of fish. If you make some sort of fish slider, that would make a nice bread for a fish slider. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll check that out. All right. So now let's check out the chocolate one. Would you pair moose up with squirrel? Yeah, I did answer that, and I would say, and I think what I answered was funny. You should say that because squirrel is also on my bucket list. And so if I could knock those two out, if I could knock Rocky and Bullwinkle out at the same time, I would definitely do that. So if I had to do them individually, I will. But if I could do them at the same time, well, that would be awesome. I would have to wear a Boris Badenov hat while I'm doing that. And here's chocolate. This reminds me of something. Babka, maybe? Reminds me of babka. I mean, nice with a little bit of cinnamon, I think, in that roll. It's not chocolate. There's chocolate chips in there. They're melted, of course. But it's not chocolate heavy. It's not like chocolate cake. I'm not a big fan of chocolate. This is really good though. Yeah, I like that. Now, Julie hasn't shown up yet, and I just hope I'll have to call her afterwards because I'm gonna make sure she's okay. They might have lost power. She's in the Boston area. Val, have you ever drank tuba? Apparently not, because I'm not familiar with it. What, pray tell, Stoner Kitchen, is tuba? All right. Both of these rolls, the coconut one and the chocolate one, thumbs up. I have not yet had anything from Astral that I thought, meh, or not good. Absolutely delicious. All right. So let's see. We're like an hour in, and we had two snacks and the beer. But the thing is, here's the thing. We're talking about like bucket lists, we're talking about travel, we're talking about food and everything, and that's what I want to get kind of back to is the talking about food and travel and talking about that with you. You want to watch me eat food, you can just watch one of the videos and everything, but I want to be interactive with that and talking to you about travel and talking to you about food, and I prefer that. So even if we get to 3 snacks or something, but we're but we've had a really engaging conversation about food and travel. I'm okay with that. I hope you're okay with that. If you're not okay with that, let me know and we'll change it up. But it is fermented coconut drink, kind of the same process as pulque with coconut. I can honestly say I have not tried it. And so what I am doing right now is I am going to write that down. And we're going to see if we can make that happen. Because I don't know if it's my personality or something, but it's kind of like when I find out about something and I know I've never had it before, then it's like it becomes a quest. It's a quest to see that. All right, so let's do another question and we'll kind of get into another snack. So I asked how many you've been to, how many continents you've been to. Wasn't a lot of answers. Well, there was Stoner Kitchen's joke answer. Didn't see a lot of them. Me personally, I have been to, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I've been to 3. So North America, South America. And some people hear Central America and they go, which continent is that? It's not really a continent. It's part of North America. I don't know why they call it Central America, because the countries that are in Central America are between North American countries and South American countries. For some reason, they call it Central America, but it's on the landmass of North America, and it's not considered a separate continent. I'm not sure why they do that. Again, also not sure why Europe and Asia are separate continents when it is the same landmass. I mean, honestly, look at it. Look at a map and look at Europe and Asia. It's literally the same landmass. So, I mean, Africa is just disconnected by the Suez Canal. This is the only thing that separates Africa from, I want to say, Asia, the Middle East. I think they consider that part of Asia. Australia is completely separate. I don't know if it's the world's largest island or not, but it's for some reason it's considered a separate continent. So we have Antarctica. We talked about Antarctica earlier. So we have North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia. I'm missing one there somewhere. Did I say Africa? No. I'm missing. I came up with 6. I'm kind of missing it, and I'm not sure which one I missed. So, do you count Smurf houses? Travel the world. Julie as Natasha would make it happen. Yes, moose and squirrel. Julie, what do you think of moose and squirrel? Squirrel not so good. I don't know. Maybe it is. We'll see. I'm guessing that a lot of you have not been to multiple continents and maybe have only been to one. But again, I've been to North America, South America, and Europe. Those are the 3 that I've been to. And again, if somebody told me to pick, you can go to one more. Which one do you want? Antarctica. It's going to definitely be Antarctica. All right. So let me ask you this, and then we'll talk. Let me get a snack started. But I'll throw this one out there for you guys. What was the most memorable restaurant experience you've had? So maybe it was like the thing that you ate. Maybe it was the restaurant you ate in. Maybe it was where the restaurant was. Maybe it was something that happened there that made it the most memorable restaurant experience you've had. So what was the most memorable restaurant experience that you've had? And let's get to this. So this, anybody recognize this? Anybody recognize what this is? There's several varieties of the, ouch. Yeah, it's not, hang on a second, let me find that. Okay. So there are several varieties of this. This one has spines on it, which are, I don't know if you can see that there's like little holes in my finger now. No, it does kind of look like a guava. This is actually in the squash family. On a serious note, a country that always has fascinated me is Suriname. Oh, interesting. Now, Suriname, I think, is in South America. Is it not, Stoner? Is that where the Suriname toad comes from? I know the Suriname toad lives in Lake Titicaca. The thing that's fascinating about the Suriname toad, it's flat. It lives in the water. It's flat, completely flat. So it looks like the flounder of the frog world. And it has little holes in its back. And the purpose of the holes in its back is I guess they lay the eggs in the holes on the frog's back, and that frog carries those around, and then the tadpoles hatch out of the holes in this frog's back. It is a strange creature. North America, North America, Europe, and Asia. Where did you go in Asia, Icehand? I've always wanted to go to Asia, but I've not been there yet. Yes, Nashies, you are absolutely, and welcome, Nashies. Yes, you are absolutely correct. This is a chayote squash. This is a prickly chayote squash. Chayote is an edible gourd. It was first cultivated in the area between southern Mexico and Honduras. As we were just talking about Central America, it is originally from Central America. Now it's kind of worldwide. And there's two common varieties. So is the prickly chayote. There's one that looks kind of hairy, but it's not. It doesn't have these little spikes. These are actually little spikes. And then there's the one that just has a really smooth skin. So the thing about chayote is the entire thing is edible. Although I advise against eating the skin, we don't want to eat the skin, but the entire thing is edible, including the seed that's in the middle of it. That's edible as well. You can eat this raw, or you can eat this cooked. When you cook it, however, it takes some of the flavor out of it and everything. So we're just going to cut this, and we're going to eat this raw today. Now, the word of warning that I got on this is when you cut. Nashies, have you made this before? Or have you had chayote squash before? So, and maybe you can back me up on this, because this is what I've read, but I don't have personal experience with chayote squash, is that when you cut it open, it has this kind of sticky, like a slime, and it sticks to stuff, and it is almost impossible to get out. So would you agree to that, Nashies, that when you cut it open, that there's this kind of slime inside that sticks to everything and is almost impossible to get out? So they recommend that you use like gloves or plastic or something when you cut it. So I have my cutting board here that I've covered in foil because I don't want to ruin the cutting board. And I'm going to use a plastic bag to cut it. What are we trying? Well, Joshua Maxwell, we are trying a chayote squash. So this is my first time trying chayote squash. And because you can eat it raw, we're going to go ahead and do that. I might cook the rest of it later and everything. Sap, yes. So there's sap inside. So just be ready for that. We don't want to get that all over everything because it's almost impossible to get out, from what I understand. In South America, Suriname fascinates because of its mix of cultures. There's African influence, Dutch, East Indian, and Java. Really want to go there. Here's my thing, Stoner, about places like we say we really want to go there. You have to find some way to make that happen. And it might be like cutting back on some stuff and saving your money and everything. But always make it happen, only because two things. One, I mean, the country of Suriname is always going to be there, but it may, you never know when something's going to happen there where you don't have access to it, right? And then the other thing is you, right? Like you may find yourself in a position where you may not be able to travel at some point in time, or or find an early demise or something, and you've never gotten to Suriname. So the thing is, it sounds like a really great place to have on a bucket list and everything, and you should find some way to go. So I always try to do that. If I have things on a bucket list and everything, I try to find ways to make that happen. Again, eating whale in Japan is probably like, it's a bucket list item, but I don't know if I'm ever going to make that happen. But I try to make your bucket list items happen. It can cause mild skin irritation. Good to know. You will cook it later, I'm sure, just to try it. Yes, of course, Josh. So I'm going to cut this, and again, I have this. I don't know if you can see that, like little holes in my fingers from the spikes. So I'm going to use this plastic bag. I'm going to cut into it. I'm going to cut the skin off, and I'm just going to eat a piece. So I'm going to try that. There we go. And I got slime on my fingers. All right. So I'm going to cut a piece of that, and I'm going to cut the skin off. I've got to find, I'm going to try to get like a taller table so you guys can see what I'm doing when I'm doing this. Here we go. You know that one little piece there that doesn't want to come off. No, I got some skin there still. I'm not concerned about the skin as much as I'm concerned about the spikes. So that's the thing. All right, there we go. So it looks like melon. It's in the squash family, so it's not going to taste like melon, I don't think. In Mexico, they put it in soups. Some street vendors sell it plain and cut it in chunks like a baked potato. So they bake it and they cut it in chunks. Now, I imagine it's a squash, so like you could cook it the same way you would cook zucchini or yellow squash. All right, here we go. Cheers. Ooh, wow. Oh, a unique flavor. It's very fresh tasting. So to me, the flavor, and there's like a little bit of like a bitterness or something that comes in. And it's like a cross between like a yellow squash and a potato. That's what the flavor to me is, like a cross between yellow squash and potato. It's actually pretty good. So I am going to cook that later. But that's going to get a thumbs up. Never tried chayote squash. It's actually really, really good. It's delightful raw. And really, really nice raw. But I will cook that later. I think maybe try steaming that and see how that goes. Val has holes in his fingers yet. Oh, I've got blisters on my fingers. Not blisters, little tiny holes. We went to the Coral Reef restaurant in Epcot Center in 2007. And there was a little girl who said that everything's swimming in the huge aquarium, Nemo. It was cute. Yeah, and me, if I was there, I would point to one of the bigger fish and go, does that come with vegetables? But that's cute. Did anybody else, because I think, hang on one second. Our question was, what was the most memorable restaurant experience you've had? Let's see, did somebody else? So Janice said her memorable experience was Coral Reef Restaurant in Epcot Center. Not like bitter melon, Nashies, because bitter melon is like really, really bitter. So somebody said it tastes like cancer medicine. Like I can't relate to that. I don't know what cancer medicine tastes like, but that's what they said bitter melon tastes like. Bitter melon can be very challenging. I think when I was staying with Julie, we did a bitter melon. It was her first time trying it. She actually liked it, but for somebody who's not prepared for it, it's not a catchy name. It is bitter. It is really, really bitter. And I just didn't think this one was quite as bitter. It was there was like a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of bitterness, but to me, like I said, mostly like the flavor of not texture wise, but the flavor of like cross between the yellow squash and potato. Chayote and chicken soup. I don't know if I have chicken. Otherwise, I would try that. It has a fantastic texture. Yeah, the texture is like awesome. It's like almost like apple. It's like the texture of an apple. Gives bitter melon to me. Have taste buds that pick up heavily on bitter. Yeah. Well, like I said, I did get some bitterness, but it really wasn't strong. So maybe it depends on how ripe it is or is not. Maybe that has something to do with it. All right, most memorable restaurant experience you've had. So I would say, and this kind of goes along with food or travel destination that I feel grateful for having experienced, right? So let's say that, like I just like, it was so cool that I was able to experience this. So there's a few. So the first one would be, there was a restaurant in Boston. It was open from 1972 to 2004, and it was called Maison Robert. And Maison Robert, or Mason Robert, Maison Robert was a French restaurant, and they were famous. It was famous around the world. Maison Robert. It was very, very high-end restaurant. And my friend Larry, his electrical electrician company, I don't know what you would call that, they did electrical work in Maison Robert. So as a way to say thank you for the electrical work that they did, they gave him 4 passes. And the 4 passes were to have dinner at Maison Robert, dinner and a bottle of wine at Maison Robert. So we're talking about, and this was back in the 1980s, like 1980, I would say like 1984 probably. So back in 1984, for 4 people to eat there would have been well over $400. So they had these passes. Now, the catch was that they were filming a Folgers commercial. So I don't know if you guys ever remember the Folgers commercial where they say, "We are here at New York's famous blah blah blah, where we have substituted the coffee that we're with Folgers," right? And so they were filming a Folgers commercial, but they gave us passes to go, and so we were not at one of the tables that was going to be in the commercial that was going to have the coffee. But they needed people to fill up the restaurant, right? Because it was they needed to be unsuspecting. So we were there for the Folgers commercial, but we got to eat at this famous restaurant, famous French restaurant, Maison Robert. Very, very expensive, very, very high end. Where a guy comes along only to give you rolls, and there was another guy who came along only to fill your water glass. And then like if you got crumbs on the table, there's a guy who came by with like looked like a razor, and he would kind of shave the tablecloth and get those crumbs off the table and stuff like that. That was an amazing experience. Now the funny thing is that because we were not participating, we knew what was going to happen. And the thing is, we figured out that the microphone was in the basket of bread. So they would bring the basket of bread to the table, and then they would give the guy the coffee, and then they would ask him the coffee, like, "What did you think of the coffee?" "Well, we gave you Folgers." And so we figured that the microphone was in the basket and everything. But we went and we got to watch them film this Folgers commercial, and we got to enjoy an outstanding, which probably would have been like 4 Michelin star restaurant, this outstanding meal. Now, other experiences that I've had that I feel grateful for having experienced. We were talking about music earlier. Seeing Les Paul play at the Iridium Jazz Club in 2007 in New York City. So he was like, that was like his regular gig. He was well into his 90s. I think it was like 91, 92, something like that. And he would play there on Monday nights, and that was his thing. And tickets weren't really expensive, but we went and we saw Les Paul. And then afterwards, he kind of sat by the door and he talked to everybody who left. So we got to meet him, got to talk to him and everything. He signed autographs for people and everything. And it was just an amazing thing because like a lot of people, like if you are not like really, really familiar with, I don't know if you've ever heard the name Les Paul, but Les Paul was kind of like the Eddie Van Halen of the 1940s. The stuff he was playing in the 1940s was outstanding. But just crazy, outstanding, jazz and swing and fast stuff. And so if you're familiar with guitars, you've probably heard of the Les Paul Custom, which is like for as far as Gibson guitars go, one of the most sought after guitars players. So you're either a Fender guy or a Gibson guy, and if you're a Gibson guy, you want to play the Les Paul, and the Les Paul was the guitar that he kind of championed and made. So to me, that was an experience. That was an experience that I'll always feel grateful for. From a culinary standpoint, there is a restaurant in Montreal called Joe Beef. And I was going to Montreal, and a friend of mine who was a butcher said, "Oh, well, you got to visit Joe Beef when you're up there. So when you go up there, tell them that I sent you up there, and ask them if you can come in and everything." So I called them up and I said, "Hey, my friend told me to come in. Wanted to mention that I was blogging at the time and wanted me to come in and check you guys out." And so they said, "Yeah, come on in, we are booked solid, so we're going to have to put you on a chair like behind the bar. Is that okay? And I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely fine. That's all good. But they took me into the kitchen. I sat down with David McMillan, who's the main chef there, and we talked about food and everything. And so one of the things he was asking me, like, they had this thing called the foie gras double down. Do you want the foie gras double down? I'm like, to me, it's like 2 lobes of foie gras with cheese and other stuff and everything. I'm like, I don't know. I would like to try something that I can't try where I am. I said, do you have horse? And he goes, oh yeah, we have horse. So there was a dish called, let's see, my French is going to be terrible, cheval à cheval, which means horse on horseback, apparently. And it was horse. So we were talking about horse for a while, and I was saying, like, people in the United States are really weird about horse. They're really weird about horse meat. And he says, here's the thing. He says, if I go to the market to get the meat for what I'm going to serve in the restaurant, and if I see that there's a horse fillet at a good price, I'll pick it up. And if there's a beef tenderloin at a good price, I'll pick that up, right? So he says, I'll bring them back in and I'll put them on the board, and I'll have like the beef tenderloin and the horse fillet. And if people come in here, and if they're in the mood for a fillet, they'll order the horse fillet. And if they're in the mood for tenderloin, they'll order the beef tenderloin. He says, it's not a big deal here. It's another large four-legged mammal, that we'll eat. So that was an experience for me, is eating this and again, another very, very high-end restaurant and everything, and just being able to have that experience of eating the horse meat, horse on horseback. We talked about at the beginning of it, another experience that I was grateful for is spending a lot of time at the Rat in Kenmore Square, which was a club, a legendary club in Kenmore Square in Boston. We talked about that one, right? And then I guess the last thing would be and not even the last thing, just the ones that I'm kind of throwing out there, is there was a restaurant that operated in Philadelphia between 1893 and 2009 called the Old Original Bookbinders. And they had a dish that they were famous for, which was snapper soup. The snapper being snapping turtle. Although it really wasn't a snapping turtle, it was Chesapeake Bay turtle, but they were famous for their turtle soup. And I had the opportunity, this is, I want to say back in the mid 80s, had an opportunity to try their soup. Now, they closed in 2009. They reopened in 2015 from Chef Jose Garces. He opened the restaurant back up in 2015. And I think there was some issues with it and everything. It's still open today. And I think they reverted back to the name, the Old Original Bookbinders. So next time I'm in Philadelphia, we're definitely going to film an episode at what is now, again, called the Original Old Bookbinders. Hopefully they'll have the snapper soup, and we will do that. And then again, this is going to be like one of those things, like, do it if you really want to do it and have a chance to do it, is the Statue of Liberty. That I've been twice to the Statue of Liberty. One when I was 8 years old. It was in the middle of the summer. It was like 103 at the top. And the other time was in the winter. I took Julie, and it was like 5 degrees out. And so we went up to the crown. So it was twice. Now it's been closed a lot. And I think you used to be able to go up into the torch. Like, there's a little balcony in the torch, and you used to be able to go up there, but they closed that to the public in 1916. Has not been open since 1916. But going up to the crown was a regular thing. You just go over there, go in, go up to the crown. They stopped doing that. It kind of opened and closed a couple of times over the recent in recent times, and now it's open, but they only allow a fixed number of people up there a day. So you have to buy your tickets well in advance and let them know when you're going to be there, and then you can go up and everything. But it's one of those things like now that you can go back up, if you're in New York City, you should make it a point to go up there, because you never know when they're going to close it again. So there you go. Nashy says, my dad had a Les Paul. Yeah. It's funny because my brother, Phil, who plays guitar, he has mostly Fenders. I'm trying to remember if he ever had a Gibson at all. I don't think so. My friend Bob had he had a Gibson SG. No, it was I think it was the Area double neck. I think he did have the Jimmy Page Gibson SG double neck. And and he did have a Les Paul, or I think maybe he had 2 Les Pauls at one point in time. But that was like that was like the thing. Like if you were a Fender aficionado, you either went with a Telecaster or a Stratocaster. If you were a Gibson aficionado, I think a lot of people went with, like, Frank Zappa's main guitar was the SG. Angus Young from AC/DC, SG. George Harrison played an SG. But the really sought after one was the Gibson Les Paul, like Peter Frampton played. He plays Taylor, Martin, and Gibson, has a collection. Most like avid guitarists do have a collection, and usually if they're married, it drives their wife or their significant other nuts. 2 centimeters of snow in Austin, Texas. What is a centimeter translate into inches, Grubwork? Let's see. Went to this Brazilian restaurant where they were running around with a cart, and you flip a coaster over for the green side. You want more, red means you're done. Tried rack of lamb there. Yeah, Joshua. So a lot of, they call them churrascarias. So it's not like traditional Brazilian food. You're not going to be able to get like feijoada or something like that there. But it's famous for their roasted meat. And most of them have that. So like some of them, it's like this little cylinder, and it has red, yellow, and green, like traffic lights. I don't know what the yellow means, but it's the same thing. If you turn it over to the green side, it means keep it coming. And if you turn it over to the red side, it means hold off, or stop. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're done. It just means hold off on bringing any more meat to the table, because eventually what you're going to do is, like, if you want more, after you've like eaten the stuff that's on your plate, flip that back over to the green side. So that is always, like, if any of you who have not had that experience of eating in a Brazilian restaurant where they had churrascaria, yeah, do it. Have you ever thought about doing a raffle or contest like Matt does for a sponsored stream? Maybe the winner could choose the stream or something. The sponsored stream. I suppose we could do that with Matt. It's a little bit different because he does gaming, right? So like I could do that, and then somebody could donate a certain amount and say, okay, I want you to do a gaming stream, and I'm like, I'm not set up to do that. It'd be fun, but I'm not set up to do that. So it would have to be food or travel related, and then the question becomes like, what do I have access for? I'm not sure how we could do that. But maybe we could do it. We could pick that. The thing is like he'll have people do donations to do episodes, right? So they'll donate stuff, and he'll do an episode, and he'll donate that. He'll use the donation for the episode. What I've done in the past is I have our viewers' choice episodes, right? And so somebody makes a suggestion, they put it in a suggestion box, and then I make it. And we could do that. I think Stoner is and we could do those live, right? So we could say like, okay, if you do a donation, then you get to suggest something that we make, and we might have to change it a couple of times. Like we might have to say like, I don't have access to that, so I can't make that. But maybe we could do that, and we could do that live, right? So we could say, all right, if you donate a certain amount, you get to say, Val, you need to make this, and you tell me what you're going to make. I would do something with maybe either simple ingredients or something that would be easy enough to get the ingredients to make. So yeah, I think maybe we could do it that way. So let me think about that, Stoner, about how we could do that. Whereas, like I said, somebody leaves a donation, and then they get to suggest something that we make, and then we make it on the live stream. So that sounds like a good idea. I think we would try it that way. Thought of a silly food bucket item list. There is no such thing as silly, portmanteau. I want to try the chocolate cake shake from Portillo's in Chicago. Also fugu. See, that is not silly. That is not silly. So obviously you've heard about that chocolate cake shake from Portillo's, and that's something that you're just kind of like, that is not a silly food bucket list item at all. You should definitely do that. If that's what is up. Definitely find a way to make that happen. And fugu. Fugu is like really hard to do. It's very expensive, and it's very expensive because you have to have highly trained chefs making it. Because if you don't have highly trained chefs making it, it could be your last meal. I have had the opportunity to actually try fugu. So I went to a restaurant in Koreatown in Los Angeles that they did fugu, and they served it multiple. It wasn't just like the sashimi fugu. They served it multiple ways. Like they took the skin and they crisped up the skin and they put it in a salad, and they made a soup. So they took the fish, the blowfish, and they made it different ways. There was like 5 different ways, but that was definitely an experience eating the fugu, and I didn't die, so that's a plus. So was horse a lot different than beef or pork? Yes, it was very, very different. For one thing, it's more muscular. So I don't want to say tough, but it's very low in fat. But the flavor is completely different. It's what would I compare it to? I think it's much milder than pork. Much milder than beef. Pork is pork's a different animal. It's literally a different animal. So yeah, it's a completely different thing. Now, if you're in the United States, there are some places where you do have the opportunity to try horse, and some places where you won't have the opportunity to try horse. So, like for instance, California. California, you will never have the opportunity to try horse. There's a separate law on the books in California. I think it was from 1996 that states you cannot buy, sell, prepare, eat any kind of horse. And when I say any kind of horse, I'm talking about like no zebra, no donkey, nothing. You can't in California. Other states you can. So I think it was in 2000. It was up to 2008. The slaughterhouses were banned in the United States, and the consumption of horse meat was banned in the United States. And then I think it was around 2008 or so that they lifted that ban. Now the logic behind that was they said it is too much risk to the animals to have them because what would happen is they would ship the animals up to Canada to be slaughtered, and then they would either use the meat in Canada or send it to Europe. And so what they said was it's too traumatic for it to put horses on like a train and send them up to Canada just to be slaughtered. Plus, when they're slaughtered in Canada, we really can't monitor that and make sure that they're being slaughtered humanely and everything. And it was like, so we're going to open up the slaughterhouses in the United States based on state law. Like you wouldn't have that slaughterhouse in California. You might in Nevada because it's legal in Nevada. My guess is they were losing money to Canada, right? So the slaughterhouses, they were selling the meat and everything in Canada. The United States was losing money to Canada on that. So that's probably why they opened it back up. Whatever the reasoning was, they did open the slaughterhouses back up in the United States. And so some states will allow you to eat horse and some states will not. But Canada is one of those places, and it depends on where you are in Canada. Like if you're in Quebec, it's going to be easier to find horse meat than if you're in like British Columbia. British Columbia, it is legal for them to serve horse in British Columbia. But if you go to like meat market and says, "Do you have horse?" they give you a look like, "What is wrong with you?" So if you get a chance to try it, though, you should definitely try it. Had some much meat on my plate. Had so much meat from the churrascaria. Yeah, they will literally just about 3/4 of an inch. Oh, that's not too bad, but for Austin, Texas, that's actually a lot. Grub work. Again, like well, you said Texas, you didn't specify where, but I lived in Austin, Texas for 13 years, and whenever they got snow, the city just shut down. They don't know how to deal with that. They don't have plows, they don't have salt, they don't have any of that stuff. So they can choose the theme. Winner can choose the food theme. Yeah, that could work. That could work, Stoner. All right, let's figure out how we can do that. I think you guys can make donations now, so we'll figure that out. Wait, Greg is here. Greg of Tomorrow has entered the room. So Greg usually misses out because he's in Australia. And so he's usually working because it's their Monday when we're doing live stream. But he has Monday off. So welcome, Greg of Tomorrow. I've eaten horse and it tastes like lamb. Very nice. Yeah, I didn't think it tasted like. To me, it was like unique, very mild, delicious, but really hard to compare to anything else. So welcome, Greg. Glad you can make it. Happy Australia Day to you as well. Portillo opened up here like a year ago, so good charboiled burgers taste better to me, and that cake shake is delicious. Yeah, they do have. I think I want to say I don't know how many. I don't know if Janice is like still here or kind of monitoring, but I think we did. We either did an episode on her channel or an episode on my channel at Portillo's in Buena Park. So there's one here. So if you want like the Italian beef sandwich, which you should be going to Portillo's for, is the Italian beef sandwich. I did not get the chocolate cake shake, but I did get the Italian beef sandwich. The question is, I had not been to Portillo's in Chicago, so I don't know if like sometimes when something turns into a chain and they're in different places and everything, the original restaurant, for some reason, is much, much better. Have you tried Salima porgy? It is a fish that gets you high when you eat it. I have not. I've not even heard of it, and I've not seen it anywhere. I will have to try that. It gets you high when you eat it? All right, that's going on our list of things to try to find. That's why I love doing this. I like having this discussion with you guys because I'm learning from you. I'm learning things from you. Let's see. You asked about a unique restaurant experience. My parents eloped in Lake Tahoe and we ate dinner at Harrah's to celebrate. I had wild boar with a fig and cherry compote. I didn't even realize that Harrah's had that kind of stuff on the menu. That sounds really, really good. And congratulations to your parents. That's kind of a cool thing. Yeah, I've been to Lake Tahoe once. I ate at a place called Ice and Fire, which is kind of like a stir-fry grill kind of place. Like you just pick what you want, and then they put it on the grill and stir-fry it for you. And so you get a stir-fry bowl. So that's where I ate when I was in Lake Tahoe. But my God, that sounds like it. That definitely sounds. First of all, unique restaurant experience with your parents eloping, and second of all, the dinner. Yeah, it sounds like really nice. So that is kind of a cool experience. And Nashi's is in Nevada. So this was years ago. Yeah, but I mean, I can't imagine. I imagine that they try to maintain that same kind of thing. That was a really unusual thing. Finding server asked me how I wanted my meat cooked like it was beef and freaked my parents out because they thought it was closer to pork. So they called him back and asked him why. Oh, well, if it's wild boar, yeah, it's the same animal as a pig. I mean, the same kind of animal as a pig. And if it's wild, you want to be careful of like parasites and stuff like that. So it's always best, like especially if it's wild boar, I would say like medium well. I wouldn't go any easier than wild. If they're farm raised, then it's safe and it's fine. But if it's like wild boar, like they went out and shot a wild boar and everything, I would definitely get it at least medium well. I wouldn't get it well done. Because well done, it's like might as well be eating a shoe. It doesn't matter at that point. Who are we supporting with your shirt, Uncle Val? Bill Bruford. Does anybody know why I said Bill Bruford? Because this is not a Bill Bruford jersey. This is a Boston Bruins jersey. But does anyone know why I said Bill Bruford? More similar to beef. Got it medium rare, no problem. Oh, okay. We also reviewed a Chicago dog. Oh, see, she is, she is there. Yeah, so we did the Italian beef sandwich and we did the Chicago dog. I think we did two, right? We did two things at Portillo's. Yeah, one for your channel, one for my channel. I don't remember which one. I'll have to go back. Well, no, I can look right now. We did the Italian beef sandwich on our channel. So bear with me 1 second. I don't mean there's a bear with me. Let me get that URL for you. Okay, so here is Janice and I on Trippy Food reviewing the Italian beef sandwich from Portillo's. And I think there's a link there where you can get to Janice's episode of the Chicago hot dog. You can get to her episode from that episode. So when you get a chance, definitely check that out. William, I missed that. The thing we were talking about, William. All right. So did I miss anything else? Did I miss anything else, guys? All right. So we are like 10 minutes of. I do have some other snacks. We might not get to all of them, but that's okay. I don't know how you guys feel, and let me know how you guys feel about this. But I enjoy the discussions that we have of us sharing our experiences. So you sharing your food experiences with me sharing it with you, and our travel experiences. I really I enjoy that, and I hope you do too. So let me know if you guys enjoy that. Otherwise, we don't have to do that. So nobody knew why I said Bill Bruford, my Bill Bruford shirt. Enjoy the stream. Oh, okay, Joshua. That's good to know. The reason I call this a Bill Bruford shirt is because Bill Bruford, who is a drummer, he's played with King Crimson, he's played with Yes, he's played with Genesis, he's played with UK, he's had his own band. The reason I mentioned Bill Bruford is because when Bill Bruford played with Genesis, and even afterwards in other places and everything, Bill Bruford wears a Boston Bruins shirt. And the reason he wears a Boston Bruins shirt is because his initials are BB. So, you have the B for Boston Bruins. And so Bill Bruford is like a lot of pictures of him wearing the Boston Bruins jersey. The other thing about the Boston Bruins jersey is I want to say it's Happy Gilmore. And Happy Gilmore, Adam Sandler wears a Boston Bruins jersey. So this was a gift from Julie. Julie gave me this Boston Bruins jersey. So I told her I was gonna be looking for one while I was up there, because I always just thought the Boston Bruins jersey was cool, love the colors and stuff, and so yeah, Julie gifted me this one. So there you go. Bill would wear a Bruins jersey and playing with King Crimson. Oh, even with King Crimson, yeah, exactly, Portmanteau. So he was famous for the Boston Bruins jersey, but I think it's because Bill Bruford, his initials were BB. So. I love hearing about people's food adventures. Yeah, I do too, and that's why I'm glad you guys shared that. So, finally got out first Vallarta. It was elbow room only. Wait, finally got. Oh, you went to your first Vallarta supermarket? It was elbow room only down every aisle. Wow. But I love that store. Vallarta is one of my favorite grocery stores. I like Vallarta. I like 99 Ranch Market. I like. Let's see what else. Hawaii Supermarket, but there's only one of those. H Mart, love H Mart. And again, we like to do unusual things. A lot of places you can go, like Cost Plus World Market, Trader Joe's. They always have something interesting, unique, and different in there. So, like, are you guys looking for interesting and unique and different things you haven't tried before? I would definitely try Trader Joe's and try Cost Plus World Market. But if you have those other ones like H Mart in California, they have Mitsuwa Market. In the Pacific Northwest, they have Awajimaya. Awajimaya is an awesome store. Jules, is Jules here? Oh, that she gave me the shirt. Yeah, I have to call her afterwards, just make sure she's okay, because they got a lot of snow. First Vallarta outside of California. Wow. So yeah, I didn't realize that they were expanding out of California, but I love Vallarta. They're opening the largest H Mart in the country near where I live. And where is that? In what city? Portmanteau? I love H Mart. When I go to Boston, Julie and I will take the girls to H Mart, and the girls are like really, really in tune to Asian culture and everything, and so they're like kids, and they're literally kids. They're like kids in candy store. They're just like, oh, we got to try this. Oh, we got to try this. Oh, grab this. Let's try this. Check Eli's. I caught him live streaming a live native Indian event. So cool, Eli. Thank you. Oh, I will definitely try that. I didn't realize, Eli, that you had another channel. And why not? Because if I'm subscribed, I should get a notification, but I have not seen any notifications. So I'm going to have to definitely check that out. So I'm going to copy that. Thank you, Greg. Otherwise, I might not have known. I'm like making separate notes here because sometimes like you guys make great suggestions and then I leave it in the chat somewhere and then I don't know what it is and I put it in there. All right, let's talk about favorite. Now I've lived in 5 cities. Well, I'm going to say I've lived in 5 cities. I've lived in much more than 5 cities, but I'm going to say I've lived around 5 cities, right? So I've lived around Boston area, lived in Pittsburgh, lived in Austin, Texas, lived in Portland, Oregon area. I lived in Portland and Beaverton, and I lived in the LA area, different places around the LA area. And so I have favorite restaurants in there. Now, some of them aren't around anymore, and some of them are like, you should go and check those out if you get a chance. So like, I would say like in Pittsburgh, my favorite restaurants in Pittsburgh were Blue Lou's. And again, these are like visiting Pittsburgh after the fact because I moved away from Pittsburgh when I was 6 years old. So this is like after the fact. So from the 80s on, a couple of different trips to Pittsburgh where I've tried different things. So one was a place called Blue Lou's. They closed in 2007. Blue Lou's was fun because it was in an old fire station. And if it was your birthday, they still had the fire pole. And if it was your birthday, they would come down the fire pole with a cake for your birthday. So Blue Lou's, it was just a kind of this fun place to go. And then like the must do in Pittsburgh is Primanti Brothers. So Primanti Brothers is famous for their sandwich. And I think Primanti Brothers is in other places too. I think there's one in Cleveland. There might be some in other cities as well. But what Primanti Brothers was famous for is when the steel workers in Pittsburgh would go to lunch, they would go to Primanti Brothers, which is a very, very old sandwich place. And they would go to Primanti Brothers, and they would want a whole lunch, but they wouldn't have much time to get the whole lunch. So they go, just put it all together. And eventually, Primanti Brothers made that their shtick. So if you get a sandwich at Primanti Brothers, it might have coleslaw, French fries, whatever. Everything that you were going to have for lunch is going to be on that sandwich. And so it is a I've never seen anything else like that. Definitely check out Primanti Brothers. They're still open. In the Boston area, I would say the Big A. I think last week, people heard me talk about the Big A in Malden, Massachusetts. The Big A in Malden, Massachusetts is my go-to place for an Italian sub. Now, they've been around forever. They've been open since, I would have to say, in the early 60s, because they were always open from 66 when we moved there on. So to me, the Italian sub that they make at Big A is like my definitive Italian sub. There are places on the West Coast, there are places in the LA area where they talk about Italian subs, like, oh, the best Italian sub is from Bay Cities. And I'm like, Bay Cities puts lettuce on their sub. You don't put lettuce on an Italian sub. You don't put lettuce on a sub. In Southern California, in the LA area, if you go to Santoro's in Burbank, Santoro's was opened by somebody from Boston. And if you go in there and you get a sub and you ask for lettuce, they go, no, we don't have lettuce. They don't even have lettuce in there. And so Big A in Malden, for me, definitive Italian sub, still open. Harrow's in Saugus, they used to have these rolls with honey on them and everything. Their fried chicken was off the hook. They are not open anymore as a restaurant, but you can get chicken pot pies there and everything, and it's takeaway stuff. General Glover House in Swampscott, Massachusetts, was in a historic Revolutionary War home, and it was like 4-star dining. They closed in the 1990s. The building is still there, but they're talking about tearing it down or something. So that to me is like was a big dining experience in the Boston area. Austin, Texas, Kirby Lane. Breakfast at Kirby Lane. You always have to, there's almost a 2-hour waiting for breakfast at Kirby Lane, but it is amazing. One of the things I loved about Kirby Lane is they had something called the Irish nachos. And so instead of nacho chips, they would have potatoes and Irish nachos. And another place called Magnolia Cafe, which I think is closed. Magnolia Cafe was amazing. The thing that they were famous was they had a neon sign in the window that says, "Sorry, we're open." And then Cherry Creek Catfish Company had the best fried green tomatoes I ever had in my life. And then their catfish was pretty good too. Portland, Oregon, Stretch the Noodle. We did an episode at Stretch the Noodle, so you can see there was a woman who actually pulled the noodles, makes the noodles right there in front of you. Huber's Cafe, which is the oldest restaurant in Portland, and you can get a Thanksgiving dinner 365 days a year. Lewis Oyster Bar, a Pizza Shoals, which has, in my opinion, the best pizza on the West Coast. So, and then for the LA area, Cha Cha Chicken, which is kind of like Caribbean food, and that's in Santa Monica. It's this little shack, but the food is like amazing there. Porto's, of course. The original one, not the original one, but the oldest one, which was the original one that moved in Glendale. And then they have one in Downey and one in Burbank and a couple of other places as well. Porto's is amazing. It's Cuban food, I guess is what they consider it. And then Quality Seafood in Redondo Beach. Like if you go there, they will cook the food for you, right? Like there's tanks of shellfish and fish and stuff like that. And they will just cook the food for you right there. And you just go over and sit at a table and eat that. It's amazing. Let's see. Nashi says, there's a small Mexican place on Colorado Boulevard in Glendale. That was amazing. I can't remember the name. My bro used to take us there. Colorado Boulevard in Glendale. I'm trying to remember because Colorado Boulevard, like when you come off the 5, there's not a lot there, and then I'm not sure what it dumps into there. I have to check it out. But there's a lot of those mom and pop Mexican places in all the LA area that are just outstanding. Do you like charbroiled burgers as opposed to flat iron style? To me, I like categories. It's sort of like the question is like, do you like New Haven style pizza, or do you like Greek pizza, or do you like Detroit pizza, or do you like Chicago deep dish pizza? The thing is, within those categories, there's some I've had that are better than others, and so I would say that it's not like I like charbroiled better than flat iron style, because I've also had steamed burgers and I've had deep fried burgers, and I've had burgers done a whole bunch of different ways, and it just depends on the burger. It just depends on the burger. They're all really good, and I don't have a preference per se. If I go to some place that makes them a certain way and everything, I enjoy there, and I always remember the place that I went. So I don't have a specific way that people make them, Joshua, where I would say I like that. As my avatar, I have the plaque made for me by old guy in Colorado. Well, as your avatar here, it looks like a pug. Is that the right one? Look for a pug doggy. Let's see. Oh, San Francisco Bay Area. Yeah, that's because my art is pretty much like LA area, Southern California. Did I catch everything? Oh, and then the classy Foxy's, love that place. I have not been to Foxy's. No Trippy Group. Trippy Group? Trippy Goop? Oh, to be honest with you, we are at 6 o'clock. We've already done 2 hours, and the only thing I've eaten is chayote squash and these 2 rolls. I had some other snacks, and we haven't even got to them, and we've gotten the 2 hours. But we've gotten to the 2 hours because we've been talking about all these amazing things. We've been sharing all these, amazing stories and stuff. And I think, I love that. So again, we got to an adult beverage and 3 snacks. I'm okay with that. I hope that you're okay with that. Again, my thing is, you could sit and watch me eat 8 things, or you could watch 8 of our episodes and watch me eat 8 things. But this way, I think, like I said, I learn from you. Hopefully you learn from me. We share our experiences and everything. You guys have had some amazing experiences. I love your bucket list items and stuff like that. It just, I enjoy that more. And I don't know about how you guys feel, because if you like the old format where I just sit here and go through 8 snacks, an adult beverage, and a and a soft drink, we could still do that. I mean, we still do it every once in a while anyway. So maybe, every once in a while. I just want you to tell me, you guys let me know, even leave a comment or something and let me know. Do you like the loose format where we might eat a couple of things and drink something and everything, but we're doing a lot of talking about travel and food and stuff like that? Do you like that? Do you like the old format? Do you like both? You like to, every once in a while, just kind of change it up and do both? Let me know, because again, I wanted to make things a little bit different in 2026. I wanted to make things more interesting. Like another great idea that came out of today's live stream was doing something where somebody leaves a donation and then they get to either pick the theme, like you said, the theme of the live stream, or tell me there's a dish that you have to make for the live stream and everything, and then we do that on the live stream. So we could do that as well. So so you guys let me know. Just love making the time to be here, my brother. Well, I love that you were able to attend today, Greg. It's good that you were able to be here. So. Joshua, I love Monte Cristo sandwiches. What's not to love, Janice, right? All right. So we are at, our local time, 6:05, which I think is East Coast time. And so we'll kind of wrap it up here. So again, I thank you guys for joining. Please do me a favor and leave comments. A comment on the live stream. Leave a comment. I don't know if you have to wait a while before you can leave a comment on it or not, but leave a comment on it and let me know. Do you like this format? Do you like the other format better, or do you like changing it up and every once in a while doing it, either way? We'll do it that way, and then I will consider that idea that was brought in. Now, if you enjoy Trippy food, and I think you do, or you wouldn't be here. If you enjoy Trippy food, and you have not subscribed, then please do so, because that helps us out. Like the videos, all that fun stuff, and also the other channels that we recommend to you, like Nashi's and Janice Yamanaka and Old Guy in Colorado. Check those out. Again, reminder, if you don't remember who they are, which channels we recommend, you go to our main page, our main YouTube page, and you go down to featured channels. They're all on there. And we think you're really, really going to enjoy those. And so if you do, then show them the same love. So like the videos, leave comments, and subscribe to the channel. And when you do subscribe, ring the little bell so it has little lines on it. And then that way, anytime they post something, anytime they're going to do a live stream or something, you'll get notification and everything. So, it really, really helps. So once again, I really, really enjoyed today. Really enjoyed the interaction with you, learned from you. Hope you learned some stuff. And we just had a lot of fun today. So just keep in mind that, 14 in chat, let's thumbs up this. Okay, thank you. Just a reminder that it truly is crazy out there. And so we need to take care of others, and we need to take care of ourselves, because you can't take care of your others if you don't take care of yourselves. Take care of yourself, take care of others, and we will see you soon. So hope to see you all again really soon. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for spending the weekend with me. So have a great day, everybody.